Hello, and welcome to Scuttlebutt, the War Movie Review Podcast. We're happy to have you with us as we take a look at films from the dawn of cinema to today. We aim to provide a raw and unapologetic review of each film's cinematography, historical accuracy, and delivery. In the process of analysis, certain details will be revealed. These spoilers are only divulged to ensure a fair assessment of each film.
We head to Bakuba this week with Fernando Coimbra's 2017 Iraq war film, Sandcastle. Brian was injured whilst repairing water pipes for the locals and is therefore unable to attend this week's episode. But I am joined by Mike A. and Nate.
Big bada boom. Big bada boom.
Big bada boom.
So, what did we think of this? Well, I'm interested. What I thought of it was, very unimpressed by the first 30 minutes, which is, never a good thing, for a movie. You always want to hook the audience. This movie for me though was kind of like, oh my God, where is this fucking going? Like, what is this going to be? And I'm just kind of bored by it, and I wasn't impressed by the combat or anything like that. And as it went on, and like the story did unfold and became clear, this whole thing about the, getting the water for the population and all that, it was like, okay, this is kind of interesting. I don't think I've ever seen a movie about this before. But still, I mean, I don't know. I kind of failed to like really grab onto something that I liked about it. I don't know. I can't really pinpoint what it was, but it was just kind of like, it's just there's some blandness to it that I can't really pinpoint. Maybe that's because it's so bland to me, but I was like, yeah, kind of an interesting premise, but at the same time, I was seeing a lot of stuff that was really obvious and stuff I've seen in other movies many times. And yeah, not terribly, like, it wasn't terrible, but also not terribly impressive at the same time.
I'll be curious to hear what Mike has to say, because I actually disagree with you. For me, it wasn't that the opening wasn't. It's not that I don't disagree that it's kind of like bland and kind of like the same thing that I think we've all seen a million times. But I do like some of the presentation, the way things unfold within it, within those first 30 minutes. I really like, the arm, like the opening thing of him just fucking abusing his arm and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I thought it was an interesting take and a way to go through the whole thing. I do agree. The whole, like, first, I would say, apart from the opening shot and maybe a few other things, it is very, Iraq war movie.
Yeah.
I think mainly because I think we've all seen it in Jarhead first. So it's like that kind of, at least to me, it's like that. It's like, okay, it's this kind of a film. But I think the take on the water is really great until we get to Henry Cavill's special op takeout revenge operation. Then I hate the movie.
Yeah, that seems forced.
It really annoyed me. That whole action sequence that was not needed, to me, was not needed within the story. I thought you could have kept it the same way it was going all the way through. I like Henry Cavill in this movie, but I don't like that whole premise of them like getting revenge on the school teacher in the way it was filmed. Now, if you maybe filmed it differently or had a bigger budget or whatever, maybe. But it just felt very cheap. That's just me. But the movie as a whole, I liked a lot. It's an interesting take, but I do agree it tends to kind of meander around.
I thought the first like 35-ish minutes were just really uncomfortable and tropey and like whatever. We always bitched about Heine Road and like stuff like that. Like, I'll bring that up. It was that bad, and I was just like, oh, Christ, another one of these. Now, I don't know if it was just what happened on set or whatever, but like they got better. Whoever they is or they are, got better at portraying because this is, you got to remember, this is the initial invasion of Iraq. This is 2003. This is not 2004. They got some things wrong with it, technically, which we'll get into, but like, basically my biggest gripe. I wrote down a lot. I started writing notes, so that's how it
Ooh.
tells you. Yeah, I started
Yeah.
writing notes, and
I'm
then
excited.
and then I stopped about
Okay.
40 minutes in, 45 minutes in. I wrote a couple more notes, but like, so I started writing notes because I was like, oh, it's gonna be one of these. And long story short, it's a civil affairs psyop unit. The guys that are reservists, they still deploy. I've seen the fucking patches when I was in theater, right? They're there. They do their thing. And it turned out to be an actual civil affairs project, right? Which is what this unit would have been on. And they would have been working with SF at certain points because it was so remote. And also, there's a lot to talk about the province itself and where they were actually at. And I thought, I mean, for all the Iraq or Afghanistan films that we've seen, I don't think this is one of the worst. We'll just lay it out there. It could have been better. It was bad in some spots. It was pretty decent in others, but overall, not super shitty. And yeah, it's just that first 30 time for excuse me, slow down, Mike. 35 minutes was not selling it at all. It was like another one of these. Great. But then it got better. I don't know how the fuck that happened, but yeah. So
See, that's really funny you both said that because I don't have that at all.
I don't know what it is exactly, but I was just like, I am not latching onto this. I don't care. And when I was first watching it, and then like some of the battle scenes, I was like, digital this, digital that, digital that. I'm just like picking them out
Oh, yeah.
as I'm watching it, and I started to really think about it when I was seeing that. I'm like, the thing is, when it comes to if you want to add these digital action effects, bullet hits, muzzle flashes, explosions, the thing is, what makes something look real are the imperfections. For me though, when I see a lot of these digital effects and stuff, they're always perfectly composed where the director or whoever decided to put them there wanted to see them. They're always like perfectly composed where like bullets are hitting the ground and you can see like, in the perfect frame where they wanted that to be. I've always thought when it comes to practical effects and stuff like that, it's always what makes them, much more impressive is not only the fact that they're actually there, but what gives the illusion that they're there is that those imperfections, that they're not perfectly synchronized or timed or in the perfect spot or from the perfect angle or anything like that. And this movie was just rife with them from the beginning. But I get it, like you do what you can, but it was still just one of those things where, and it's not the most egregiously bad digital effects I've seen when it comes to war films. But still, it was there, and I'm just like, all right, I got it.
Well, it kind of reminds me of the same kind of budgetary, or not budgetary, just same restrictions Siege of Jadotville is, in a way.
Yeah.
Because, and what I mean by that, I mean by the visual effects and stuff like that, because it's by Netflix, so we have no numbers on budget or anything like that for this one.
Yeah.
Netflix doesn't divulge this, and I'm right now trying to find where they filmed this.
I don't know. The thing is, though, dude, like,
it wasn't Iraq, I guarantee you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Jordan, but I'm double checking.
now let me say it because like, Mosul was also a Netflix film, right? That was also Netflix. was
I
on
can check
Netflix.
for you. Hold on, I can check.
Right? Yeah, because I think it was, and I don't want to.
I know it's on. Yep. Wait, hold on. I think it is a Netflix one. Actually,
I thought
yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's like Netflix can't be blamed for if they're because like that movie, from what I remember,
I never saw.
was
I know I wasn't on for that episode, so I haven't seen that episode.
Oh, okay.
That movie.
But
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was all practical from what I remember. But so I don't know if it's just certain directors and filmmakers and such, they choose one or the other if what they can use, and sometimes it's like don't worry, we'll rely on the digital stuff.
To answer your question, Mike, it's Abu Dhabi and Jordan. it's just I find it really funny you guys said that though about the introduction and the whole intro to it. I mean, like I maybe I was just I've seen this movie once before,
Oh, okay.
so maybe it hooked, maybe knowing what was coming up hooked me differently, you know. Um, but I mean, I know it's not that great of an intro and stuff like that. It takes a while to get going. I would not have compared it to Hyena Road at all.
No, no.
With how you said how the first 30 minutes you were like, oh
Dude,
great.
even with that, when I was like, oh my god, what we're doing, it's fucking worlds better than Hyena Road.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's
Right,
not
yeah.
it's not terrible, but for me it wasn't that great.
Hmm.
When I was going like, that's not how guys talk to each other. Like that's not how the interactions go. That's not how this works. Because those guys, yeah, they were there before me, but it was only 5 years or 5.5 years before I was there. It was still, I was with guys who had been in the invasion. I was trained by guys who'd been in the invasion. I knew how they talked, and that shit is just like, it's the kind of like I've said this many times on previous pods. I'm chewing Starburst. I'm sorry. I'm trying to put it over the side of my mouth, but it got in the way.
It's fine.
So the beginning, like 35-ish minutes, were how Hollywood writers and directors think soldiers talk to each other. And it was so awkward, and the actors were like so awkward. And it's like the direction just wasn't there. However, after that first 35-ish minutes, I got to the point where I'm like, oh, okay, these are Joes. These are Joes out in the field. Okay. All right. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
But the first 30 minutes for me were like, they were so fucking Hollywood, if you will.
There was did you recognize that the guy I can't remember his name, the guy who was on the turret gunner,
Which
the
one?
one who's the white guy who always sees everything. He's paired up with the black guy. I can't remember his name. It started with a C.
Right.
He's in the long time halftime movie.
Oh,
He was in that too as well as one of the guys in the squad. And so with this, it was almost like same type of acting, same type of character, same type of everything. It was interesting. So and this was, I think, either the same year or a little bit after or before.
Well, it was 2017. This is
So around the same year, because I think I think the halftime show was 2017, 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
But like it's interesting. I do agree it was a little Hollywood in the beginning. It seemed to get better, as you said. Like as you went on, it seemed to.
It definitely got better.
Dialogue came back. Yeah.
Definitely got better.
I think once the story started surrounding itself to a goal with the water, the movie went up exponentially.
absolutely.
Well, I'll just read my notes from the first 35 minutes, and when I stopped taking notes, right? So, there's a lot of shit that goes down in the first 30 minutes, right? And I guess the hook, it's to get your attention. These guys are not infantry; they're civil affairs psyops, right? That's the unit patch that they're wearing, which was good. Like that's fine. That unit was there. They were there. They're a reserve unit, and they're from all over the U.S., but mainly they're actually based in Minnesota, which is fun. But okay, so they're not an infantry unit. So when he was like, "Good day for the infantry," maybe that sergeant major was infantry before and kept saying that. Who goes?
I blanked him out. That's the Glasgow Smile guy. He's a Scottish Irish actor,
Yeah.
and man, you can hear his accent through his.
Well, it's just his character was so fucking wooden as far as
Oh yeah,
dude, as a sergeant major, like they don't fucking act like that. Like
Are you talking about?
it was tropey.
You're talking about Tommy Flanagan.
Is that his name?
Yeah, with the
yeah. He's Glasgow Smile.
You always have to have
guy,
him in a movie as like some badass guy in the peripheral, like
That's the only reason why he was in that thing. He's the badass Glasgow Smile actor.
right.
He's a good actor. I like him a lot in everything he does. Not as an American. Sorry, like what you said, Master Sergeant. What was he?
Sergeant
I don't
Major.
even remember. Sergeant Major. Yeah,
Yep.
not as a Sergeant Major. Not an American Sergeant Major.
sergeant major is a fucking E9. That's the highest enlisted you could possibly fucking go. So, and it's like, come on, man. Also, the blatant flagging was so bad in the first few scenes.
I noticed that too.
I mean, like blatant. Like when you're in a combat zone, yeah, you're gonna flag your buddies once in a while. But this was just blatant. Like you could tell they weren't trained. Shit just was because they were just holding their rifles at one place. A guy would walk over, and it's like, come on. And then when they get hit in that stairwell, why in the motherfuck would you carry the casualty upstairs instead of downstairs closer to an evac point?
Yeah, I don't know what that's all about.
Okay. Also, when he's calling for a fucking 9 line, you never, ever fucking say repeat. I repeat.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
never
I
say
noticed that
repeat
too.
on a
Yeah.
fucking radio unless you're a fister or you're calling for fucking fire. That's it. You do not say that fucking word. That was retarded. That was stupid. I cannot forgive the advisor or whoever was in charge of that. Go ahead,
Hang on a
Mike.
second. So, for people listening, why can you not say repeat? Why is
Oh,
that?
because here's the thing. If somebody's calling for fire in wherever, they might not be around you, right? They're calling for fire. They've got close air support. They've got Artie inbound. When they go repeat last, that means fire the fucking barrage or shoot again at the same target. Okay? Well, if you say repeat and Americans or coalition forces or your allies are in there, when you say repeat and you didn't say, whatever, you're going to get fucking killed. They're going to just launch the barrage again. Do not ever fucking say repeat on a fucking military radio or any radio when you're in a combat zone unless you mean shoot that entire fucking barrage again, and I'm confident that nobody on our side is going to get killed.
I would go out on a limb and say that was probably something the actor just did and they didn't pick up on it.
Well, that was fucking retarded that they didn't pick that up.
I agree, but yeah, that's just like I can see actor being like that, say.
No, I get it.
Repeat for intensity,
Yeah.
Nate.
Yep.
What would just for shits and giggles, Mike? What's the appropriate?
Say again last.
There you go. Yeah, I did. I forgot. I'm glad you pointed that out. I didn't hear that.
Oh, dude, that is something that pissed me off when I was in Iraq so fucking much because the fucking pogues would be on the fucking radios and they're like, "Can you repeat that?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's not good." And then a guy that I was with who had been third ID in 05 on Rut Irish, he had fucking done his time. He eventually just picked up the fucking radio and went, "Repeat means fire again, you fucking ass clown!" And he slammed the handset down. And then there was like this investigation of who said that because it broke radio protocol. He's like, "Don't fucking say repeat." Of course, we never got in trouble for that, but it's like, dude, do not say repeat on a fucking military radio unless you're calling for fire and adjusting fire. That's the point that you're at. Not only calling for fire, adjusting fire. When you're on target and it's fucking nailing what you need to nail, and you go, "We probably need one more barrage or one more pass," repeat. Bam. They do it. Done. All right. Charlie Mike.
Sorry, again, what is the proper
say again.
Say again last.
Say again last.
Say again last. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Say again last. And
I always thought it was say. I always use say again.
That'll work too.
And
Like,
then-
I mean,
yeah,
on the
yeah,
radio,
yeah.
that'll work. It's like,
Yeah.
but say again last is like, what did you just say?
Mm-hmm.
Can you repeat that? No, because if somebody, if the fucking waves get garbled and it goes to some fucking person who was calling in fire and now, oh, well, they called off fire. They called off the fucking CAS mission or fire support mission. And then all of a sudden, Allied troops are in there and they hear repeat at the the FDC, the Fire Direction Center. They're just going to fucking send another fucking barrage. It's like, no, dude, it's such a fucking pet peeve of mine because there's, not that I witnessed personally, thank Christ, but like, there's been a lot of blue on blue because of that whole shit on the radio.
just because of not saying the right shit.
Right. And radio comms, I have a fucking I'm a stickler for that.
I had a buddy of mine who was in Fallujah for 03 as an arty guy, and there was a lot of problems with that. People not knowing proper radio etiquette and him having to be like, "Are you sure you want me to do that again?" Like, or no, I know there's guys in that sector. No, I'm not doing that.
Yep.
Like,
that's a good premise for something in a movie. Have the fucking protocols be a huge thing that is a problem or something.
I think it's fucked up a lot because people like so fisters are like forward observers.
Fisters.
We call them fisters, man. Like
I've never heard that before. That's cool.
Oh, dude, we always called the fucking 13 foxes. Yeah, fisters. 13 foxes. They're artillery guys. They're with the artillery, but they go with the infantry or whoever combat arms are out there. They can go with MPs. They can go with fucking engineers, whatever. They're fisters, though. That's what we call them. They call in the fucking CAS and the fucking arty support, right? They know how to do that. That's their whole job, is to know how to do that really well. If he goes down or she goes down, mostly it's he. We were all taught how to call for fire, right? And we had a card with us, and you follow these steps, and you do this. You do not say this. You don't say repeat unless you want another fucking barrage on target. Once you've adjusted fire, you bracket in the fire. You fucking do this. You do that. Blah blah blah. It's a whole process to it. But when they're calling in CAS, right? Which this movie really fucked that up because you can, as an infantryman, you can call in CAS. You can call it TOC, and then they'll call in CAS. Close air support. Sorry, I'm acronyms out the wazoo. But like, also, yeah, he's like, yeah, we're pretty close. It's like, yeah, it's danger fucking close.
Yeah.
It's like right across the street.
The rubble's going in your asshole, dude.
Yeah, you're gonna be fucked up.
Yeah.
And he was on top anyway. So that was something. And then
mop.
Well, that whole thing. Yeah, mop.
Mop.
Well, that whole thing was going on. A2s are not full fucking auto.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure about that because this is where my weapon knowledge gets a little hazy around Iraq and Desert Storm era.
They were issued A2s and they were carrying them, which I liked. It's 3-round burst. Okay, It's not full auto, and the way they were firing, I was like, okay, maybe we can do 3 rounds, like because you can make it sound like full auto if you fire it fast enough and you know the timing of the trigger and everything. That was just straight up full auto. And it's like they're firing 4-round bursts here, 5-round bursts here, 2-round burst. I'm like, no, that's what you get with full auto. And no. So, and they would not have had A3s at that point, which are just an A2 that's full auto, right? They would not have had those.
That's more what your
I on my M4s I had 3-round bursts in 09. So it's not that they wouldn't have been there. Like M4A1s, right? It's not they went to bend there, but like their A2s are 3-round burst or semi. Okay. And we always use semi.
Just to clarify, because this is where like I said, my weapon knowledge gets hazy. A1s are the full autos, and anything after that was semi and burst, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, the A3 again was an A2, but it was full auto.
Okay, got it. Okay, sick. It all gets really hazy. All the ARs get all hazy in my mind.
And the A4 was 3-round burst and, semi. And then now they've got the M4A1, which is full auto, not burst. So, but at this point in 03, sorry.
I'm sorry. But what you were saying about it's like chalk that blunder up to the visual effects department. It's like.
Yeah, and this is my next fucking note. Thank you for saying that. Cheap fucking CG.
Yeah.
Like really cheap. Not good.
After Effects. Yeah.
And then okay, so
it was better than the Jake Gyllenhaal movie.
Oh, I forgot what that was called. I know what you're talking about, but
The Covenant.
It's not the worst I've seen, but it is there. It is obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
The weapons didn't have any recoil. Like blanks even have recoil, right? On an AR platform, they've got recoil. These were just.
I wasn't looking for shells coming out. Did anyone see any of that?
Yeah, they were digitally added, but they're there. You know,
Or they
Yeah,
were,
they were not
they were
great.
digitally
action
added. I didn't
effects
see that.
packs come with with shells. Yeah, they were like 3D animated shells that spin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I didn't see that
I
though.
spotted them instantly.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure this was still SOP, even in the invasion. The driver of a vehicle does not dismount. And I know I've mentioned that before, but I'll mention it again. The driver is always in the fucking driver's seat
Right.
in a vehicle. Because here's the thing is if you have to haul ass out of there, your driver's there, get accountability, quick, fast, in a hurry, you guys are fucking gone. If your driver is dismounted and he doesn't get back to the truck and he gets hit, what they showed in this film, well, you're fucked then, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Just a quick question. Did you guys feel like this film suffered somewhat like what The Covenant did, where it suffered from undercasting in the sense of like what they really should have is X, Y, Z, and they just have X?
Are you talking about just like one-dimensional like
Squ-
guys or something? What do you mean
No,
exactly?
no. I mean like squad size,
Oh,
convoy
okay.
size, like not just 2 trucks in a truck, or not just 2 Humvees in a truck, not have 5 guys, maybe have like 8, 9, 10, 12, like that kind of thing, like in that realistic sense. I mean,
I'm not sure,
what do you?
honestly.
I mean, I'm curious to what you guys thought, because to me it felt like it just was like they're trying to do the stuff that a whole like 8 to 12 guy squad would do with a size of 4 to 5.
Well, okay, so
And it makes me think it's like Hollywood filmmaking in that sense.
let's get through really quick.
Sorry,
Yeah,
yeah, it just hit me. I wanted to ask that question.
I'll comment on that.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
It's actually a very good point.
Mhm.
But I'll also comment on the accuracy of that for the unit that was portrayed.
Okay.
All right. So when they get to Baghdad, there's supposed to be an Al-Fa palace. Oddly enough, guess who's been there?
I was gonna
I
ask.
sat in that fucking chair.
I was gonna ask. Is that the place you went?
Yep, I sat in that fucking chair. I had pictures of me and my team leader sitting in that chair together, just with our rifles and shit. Like, yeah. It was really worn out and everything because everybody wanted to have a photo up there.
Mm-hmm.
So they were stationed there, okay? And from the outside, it didn't look like Al-Fa, but it looked like
I was about to ask.
something.
Yeah.
But whatever. The inside looked pretty similar.
They didn't have
Like
CG.
the
They didn't have CG 20-foot statues in the front of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, and it's like okay, and in the inside it was like fake marble and shit like that, and the rooms and everything. Like I was like, oh, I've been in that room, you know, in real life. Like, okay, cool. So their set was pretty cool with that, but the outside, like, you can't obviously go there and film
Right.
at the time this is being made. I mean, you can, I guess, if you want to take your life in your own fucking hands to get a couple of B-roll shots. But
Right.
hey, but that chair, they made a replica of that because that's I literally sat in that fucking real chair.
Did they get the layout right at least? I guess for you being there.
Well, it's so hard to tell, but like
Right. Yeah.
I was only there for a day,
Oh, okay.
but like like the staircase when he was sliding down, I'm like, oh, I've been on that fucker, you know, and it was pretty, you know, it was pretty cool. But it was a set; it wasn't the real thing, of course.
Right. Obviously.
Right.
But that's cool that you can be like, I did that.
Yeah.
Well, I have a picture of me standing next to the on one of the levels, like, and the big ass chandelier that was in the main like rotunda.
Mm-hmm.
I have a picture of me with that behind me.
Nice.
That's cool.
Fucking awesome. And the last thing I was commenting on, this goes through the whole film, is those fucking armored turrets on the Humvees. No,
I was gonna. That's later, right? That's not. Oh,
that's like
not.
2004, late
14?
2004 at the very minimum.
Oh, really? Or as early as 2004? I thought it would have been like 2012 or something
Dude,
like that.
a couple units got them in late 2004. 2005, some more people got them, and by late 2005, a lot of people had them, and then by about 2006 is when you really start seeing them like as the
Everywhere.
norm.
Right. Yeah.
This is not 2003. My dad, when he was there, he got there in Don't inhale spit.
Or Starburst.
He got there in October 2004.
Oh, jeez.
They had Humvees with turrets, with the actual, like they would swivel and shit, with nothing, and they were making what they called chicken plates. So they would just have the engineers like come and weld steel plates. They didn't know what kind of steel it was onto the turrets and shit. Those turrets were the ones like I used, like with the glass and everything and like whatever. That was 5 years later or 6 years later than this was. And it's like, no, it would have literally been if you could jerry rig something to protect your gunner, you would. They might have had the I don't know what the fuck they're called, but like the what they call it chicken plate too as well, but like it's the thing you see like that just is like a 40 or a 90-degree angle on the front, and then the gun goes through the apex of the angle, and then whatever you got it a little bit, but like that's probably the most you would have seen.
Right.
Those fucking high-speed turrets, because here's the thing: is like what was realistic is the Humvees themselves. Yeah, they knocked the doors off them because they're like, hey, you know what? Fuck it. That's just another thing to get in the way. The Humvee doors like are paper thin. They're not gonna protect against shit. It's better to be able to get the fuck out of the vehicle really quick than have to like fumble fuck with the knob or the handle and shit and like get out.
Especially with the whole, the tactics being deployed with IEDs and RPGs and, all that shit.
Yeah, so it's like, why would you put in a movie these goddamn turrets that were made for up-armored Humvees on a fucking Humvee when it never existed at that point? So that was one thing that I'll bitch about.
Probably the only thing in fucking Jordan or Abu Dhabi at that point.
Or they just they got what was given to them and they didn't know. They just didn't know that.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like
they're like, whatever, looks fine to me.
Yeah, and it's that's the notes that I had from the first like 35-ish minutes.
Is that when you about stopped taking notes and was just kind of like...
Yeah, because it got better.
Yeah.
It wasn't like super... Because, again, here's the thing. It's a civil affair PSYOPs unit, right? Civil affairs is literally what they were doing in this video, or this film. Civil affairs is, okay, there's a problem here. These people don't have water. We need to make sure that gets facilitated. We have cash. We can get this done with local labor. And I did like the way they portrayed that.
Quick, hide this in your ass. Great, Dad's coming.
Yeah.
Could have been rich, man.
Yeah, you couldn't have been.
Yeah.
Iraqi dinars are not...
They're not worth anything.
I have a bunch of them somewhere.
I think, I think that whole... I think when the water got in... To talk about the story... when the water got deployed into as a story-driven device, I think it got obviously a lot better. We've stated that. I think the whole fix the problem, you're going to get the problem fixed, and then the constant battles within that of them being there they're only there to fix the problem to help them out, and they're being shot for it.
Exactly.
And I think that whole ploy is very interesting.
I do too.
That's what happened a lot to that unit, particularly. Yeah.
I feel like if it would have been like a shoot 'em thing, which it turned into at the later half, the movie would be a lot lower in my book. But because of that whole like thing, that whole like middle section just really resonated quite a bit.
Yeah,
Michael.
I was going to say, if I could give notes on this, like if this was in a screenwriting class and someone presented this, that's what I would say. I would say focus on that aspect, the whole water thing. Focus on that. Get rid of all of this other fat, like all like the first 30 minutes of it. Get rid of like the cliche combat stuff and all that, and the cliche characters and some of the dialogue and this whole thing about the hardships of war and stuff like that, and just like really try, things we've seen in other movies, really try and focus on that one element. That's interesting, but in my opinion, it didn't go there too much. It looked at it, but it didn't like go with that full throttle. You know what I'm saying?
It kept trying to like pull back and be
Right.
this like action film.
Right. It's like, no, dude, I've
Yeah.
seen other things. Like, I don't need other things from other Iraq or GWAT movies that I've seen before, and it's like just
Yeah.
focus on this one thing, really explore that, find some very interesting message to that in there, do some research.
Well,
Yeah,
there were. It just took too fucking long, and it
yeah,
was so like
that's what I'm
spread
saying. It's
out.
like cut the fat out of
Yeah.
this fucking thing.
I hope you get shot in the face and die. Don't translate that.
Well, and here's the thing: is like those guys because they were so remote. At this, so all right, I'm going to talk about this for a second, just to give context for why certain things were the way they were in this film. Bakuba, right, the main city that they're focused on, right, is in Diyala, the province north and east of Baghdad. At that point, it was what it had always been. Like they actually alluded to in the film, which is good, a big Sunni Shiite kind of confliction area, right? And it was very hot when we went in there already. And then it was like, oh, we're introducing these guys in there. The Americans. Okay, well. And they did say that in the movie. They're like, yeah, we've been fighting about this forever already. And now you guys are here. And I liked it that they didn't get like shot at first going to that school or to Bakuba. But when they eventually started to, it's like, well, you done pissed some people off. And that's basically the whole Iraq and Afghanistan war. Is you go in there and you're like, well, we just have to rebuild this water line that we fucking destroyed. And then we're just going to rebuild that. We need labor and all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I like how they didn't show up at first. That was nice. Like, that was a good touch because they're scared. And then, you get that whole drama with the guy from the school, the superintendent or whatever the hell he was.
Mr. Matt.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's actually not that unrealistic of what happened. It's a very isolated incident, but it wasn't. Because yeah.
Well, I was gonna say that talking about the whole you said they didn't get shot at first. I liked the concept of them. They did get nailed on the road. What I was not a fan of was perfectly silhouetted on the top of the hill. That made me. I know it's Hollywood, and I know it's such a small thing to nitpick, but I saw that and I went, "You can't hit that."
Right.
It's like a broadside of a fucking barn when you're silhouetted on the hillside like that.
Yeah, well, there you go. It's like, no, I mean, like, so I've heard a lot of stories from guys that were there, before me and everything, who said, yeah, they just hit us like that, like they showed in the film.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but we would fucking just light them up. Because we could see them. We could see muzzle flashes. We could see their fucking silhouettes. We just light them up. They'd be dead. And then the next night or the next day, they'd roll through and they'd have more people that were just shooting at them. Way more.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what they kind of showed in this thing was like, okay, you fucked over their water supply. These people are pissed. You're going to get people who are going to fucking shoot at you because you're disrupting the nature of whatever the fuck is going on or has been going on. It doesn't matter about the whole Iraq war thing. It's just that in their heads, it's like, oh, they're bringing water to the people that are supporting them? Fuck that. Nope. And it just devolves into this tribal fucking constant killing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it's insane. And that's unfortunately happened with a lot of those guys who were in those remote areas in Iraq, especially very early on. It's like, because my dad was in Diyala. He's been to Bakuba, right? And he was in a fob that was more towards the Iranian border. It was up near Jalula, Iraq. And when they got there in 2004, they were picking pieces off the wire because they just about got overrun. The unit before had just about got overrun. And it's like, okay, well, that's great. What the fuck? Okay. And then, but it's the thing is like, we got involved in a fucking horrific situation that we didn't understand. And that's what I do think this film portrays that pretty well, of like how to interact with people whose culture you have no clue about. Oh, we'll just throw money at you. That's the American ways. We'll just throw money at you. Like, we don't give a shit about money. No. This is more than that. So,
Yeah, I did like how
And-
they kind of incentivized that with the guy driving on the road.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
yep. Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't. Money doesn't matter. You know, to them, and yeah, it's they did portray a lot of things pretty well, as far as I know.
I thought it was cool that they had woodland plate carriers and all that stuff because
Oh, yeah.
you've talked about that, how they didn't have
Oh,
any of
God,
it,
yeah.
which I thought was cool because I'm remembering, because we've done almost 100 reviews, and when we do Iraq or Afghanistan, I remember all the things that you've talked about before, Brian's talked about before, and I'm like, oh shit, yeah, there you go, cool. They at least got, I know a detail, like it's
Well,
so
and
that-
this one too, like they actually had IBAs, like and it was cool in that one scene. It was towards the beginning where they're going out, or it might have been around that 35-minute mark when he's like pounding everybody's plates just to see if he's got them.
yeah,
And then the main character,
Didn't-
Oker,
didn't have enough to go around.
he didn't have any plates.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, fucking grab one from somebody else. Pick which way you want to fucking
I did like
get
that.
shot from.
He's like, where are you gonna get shot? In the back or in the front?
Yep. But no, I mean that was very true at the beginning of the Iraq War, is because the supply was very fucked as far as like things like that. And my dad actually brought back a vest from the unit that he replaced in 2004, and it was one of those like 90s Ranger, like it wasn't an IBA. It was like one of the, it wasn't a Pasget either. It was like one of the Velcro vests, like the
like
high speed
like,
ones.
like the ones from like Black Hawk Down, that kind of.
Yeah,
thing?
yeah,
Yeah,
those,
yeah,
those,
yeah,
yep,
yeah.
those.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, the unit left, and they left one of those here. That's what they were wearing, and I'm like,
jeez.
oh my god.
Oh my god.
So yeah, at the beginning of the Iraq War, it was like all the high speed units got issued, hopefully, the newest and greatest shit, but like a lot of other units did not get the same equipment. They were rolling with, a lot of them were still rolling with Pasget vests.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the invasion, like they were
Right.
rolling with just soft armor, no plates,
Jeez.
no nothing. And yeah,
Was Fallujah within that time period or no?
Fallujah kicked off in 2004.
I always think it's
So it was-
03. I don't know why.
It's mainly, I think it was I can't remember the months. It lasted a while, but like no, the Marines had I think at that point IBAs,
Mm-hmm.
like their vests and everything, and I mean it doesn't fucking matter if you're clearing that many buildings and in that much urban combat. It doesn't fucking matter. And that's what they realized, is like they were like, so when I was there in 2009, they had the IOTV, right? The improved outer tactical vest. And we had DAPs, like the fucking armor, we had nut armor, back armor, you name it. We were completely fucking covered. And I'm like, I can barely move in this son of a bitch. But it was made for like being in a vehicle and getting hit with an IED.
Right, yeah.
Right? And the armor in Iraq and Afghanistan, well, that's why they started going to like just regular plate carriers in Afghanistan. Is because they're like, well, this is way too goddamn cumbersome. You don't need that much shit on you
Right.
if you can't move.
Yeah.
Like,
And
So-
if you're not used to the heat, you're stroking out on top of it. So.
right at this point, like this again, or no, not again. I'll just say this. I didn't see one fatal like bad wardrobe design issue. I didn't see one. There may have been some, but I just didn't pick up on it.
Okay.
So
It's got a gold star in the wardrobe department.
so far, yeah.
The other part of it was, I will say, and Do you think the combat in the middle section was screwy as well? Where that
I think
one
all the
character
combat was
dies.
very Hollywood.
Yeah. I did think it was it did kind of throw a shocker when that one character dies when he tries to cross and they don't see the guys on
But
the right.
that's what fucking happens.
Right, I know, but I like that though.
Yep.
Like I like
Yeah,
that
me too. It's
depiction
like-
of it because it's exactly what happened.
Well, and it
I
showed
can
it
say
went
my
through
mind.
both of his plates.
Yeah,
And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that does fucking happen.
yeah,
You know?
and they don't shy away from them like repeatedly hitting his mark
Just-
when he's
yep.
down. And
Yep.
like that, and that's real because a lot of Hollywood just shows like the one shot and he's down. They're like, he's
Right.
down, he's down, he's dead, and it's like, hey, are you hit? And it's just like whap, 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 whap.
He's getting hit in the
whap.
leg, and,
Yeah,
but you know his body's not moving and shit. It's just like they want to make sure he's. Hey, here's the same thing.
we do
I
the
do the
same
same thing.
Yep.
I do the same thing. I'd be like, need to make sure that motherfucker's down.
Yeah.
If I
Yep.
was in the enemy's perspective,
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so like that's realistic. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That was one of the only things of the combat I appreciated. That and the beginning
Yep.
scene, although it was hokey, at least it looked okay. The crossing the street with the blue smoke and all that stuff. In the compound is where this movie fails for me. It's the Henry Cavill, squad clearing scenes. I hated those.
Why did it fail for you?
It just felt real. I don't think it's the story, and I don't think it was even the action. I think it was a combination of how it was shot and the horrible CGI in that section was
Yeah.
really bad for a 17 movie. I'm seeing Hyena Road wides, and it was like,
Oh, yeah.
it was.
Yep,
I went, oh God, man, you were doing so well. You were doing so well, and now you're doing like these, like, the concrete corners are exploding, but nothing's happening. Like, it just felt cheap. It just, the movie quality was higher for me in terms of pacing and shooting and cinematography and stuff. And then once they cut to a Hyena Road wide inside the corridor, I'm like, nope. And it wasn't like it did it once; it did it several times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just cheap ass fucking shots and effects, and it pissed me off. And I did not need to see Henry Cavill be in an action section. I know he's a badass. Henry Cavill's a badass. I like him in his acting. I like him in his portrayal. I like how he's portraying this character. You got the badass feel. You didn't need to see him mopping up a fucking like IED drug den. Like I don't need to see that.
That's realistically what they would have done because that's where they thought they were getting their problems from, and it's like
I think it's realistic. In terms of a story,
but it becomes an action film at that
but it
point.
becomes an action film in the way it's presented, and then everything with the convoy, and then being stuck in the street, and it's all a story plot trope, and that's what I didn't like about it.
I've never ever heard of a fucking unit SOP that would allow for one single gun truck to be on its own. I mean, it might have happened. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments if you're listening to this. I never. Yeah, and I get that they're strung kind of thin. But Jesus Christ, man, putting one gun truck on each road separate from each other. Oh, we've got comms. Well, one gun truck is one gun truck. Very easy target.
Yeah,
Very easy.
Like you have a Toyota ship box and another Humvee raiding the compound. Okay, like the Toyota Tundra that you always see jihadists in, and then the two other Humvees. And again, I want to kind of circle back to the question I asked you guys. It's like this story to me feels like it's something that's meant for double the amount of cast in this. Maybe not Hollywood, but realistically, you would want double the amount. I mean, yeah, you always want more people, but in terms of like having actual squad and real thing to be realistic, that this is why we do this is why we're on this podcast. We judge it in this way. For it to be realistic, they would need to have double the numbers at least to it to be somewhat feasible. Like double the Humvees, double the people, like that kind of thing.
I suppose I can't really comment on that, but if you're saying that the scale didn't seem as
The
wide
scale
as
just
you
felt
wanted it to be.
It's believable for that particular unit
Mm-hmm.
at that time, but the way they did their the way they operated was just, I don't know. I don't see how that would have been. I mean,
Yeah.
here's the thing: is we could have learned different ways because they fucked up that bad.
Right. Right.
You know, but like, yeah, it doesn't make sense to me even at that point.
The way this movie feels, it almost feels like it's Hollywood shrunk. And what I mean by that, it just feels like it just feels like it shrunk to be like to be a movie. Like it's like when we said in the Covenant, like you were like you would never just have two Humvees and they couldn't make it that far, like something like that. It's like the way I look at it, it's the same way at this. It's like it's just everything just seems like Hollywood shrunk. Like the in real portrayal of things, it just feels like it should be bigger, and I don't know why. That's just my feeling. I don't know if I'm sounding like a broken tape, but that's just how I feel about it. It's like I want to see double the amount of Humvees. I want to see double the amount of people. I want to see that much interaction going around because it's like to me it just feels like it's so understaffed. But like you said, it probably easily could be.
This week's sticker trivia involves a question relevant to the film, as always. So, the first person who can message us on Facebook or any other way you can contact us that gets this answer right will win a sticker, and Brian will send you the sticker. What was the significance of Bakuba at this time?
Ooh. As Brian says, first person to message us on Facebook or Instagram gets the sticker. So there you go. IMFDB?
Yes.
Pop in
Okay.
IMFDB.
All right. So Sandcastle, let's go.
The A2. Yep.
So the A2s.
Totally accurate for 03. Totally accurate.
Sick. Yeah. With like you said, the gear and stuff, all good.
Zip ties on them. Yep. Yeah. Or flex cuffs, rather. But, like, yeah.
I can't remember. Michael, who's this guy been on the right? What's he been in? Do you know?
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Shit, I don't know, dude.
He looked so familiar, but I couldn't pick where I'd seen him from. I was just curious.
Maybe Top Gun Maverick. I think
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have to look him up.
Yeah.
M4A1 carbine.
So, realistically, they would have had an M4, which is burst again.
Right.
But
With Henry Cavill, he's got the spray down one.
Yep.
Yep. A4 handguns. Beretta 92 FS.
Yep.
This is the scene I hated. This pulling out the handgun and the guy on you and all that stuff. It just felt just so action hero. Beretta 92 FS two-toned. I'm guessing that's what this is. Yeah.
Captain Giga Chad.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah. Because I think he was still doing Superman at this point.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, it's my fucking baby.
M240. Yeah, mounted on the Humvee. I thought that was interesting, and it wasn't just 50s.
No, 240 is a lot more controllable and precise for like point targets.
Mm-hmm.
The 50 is like when you're like everything in that direction needs to get fucking wrecked.
Right.
That's when you use the
That's
50.
when you use the 50. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw the M60 on the Toyota.
That's actually pretty
Tundra.
realistic because like at that point they were still using the 60 in theater.
Yeah.
So.
And you can fix it to a jihadi ship box and it'd be okay. So. Ugh.
I just wish I could have one.
What, an M60?
Oh, also, okay, so the patrol caps in this film were fucking retarded. Those were just like random shit they got from like Rothko or like some Chinese company.
Yeah, those look bad.
That's not how the patrol caps look.
Yeah, those did look bad. Yeah.
So here's one right now. I'm gonna show you. It's one of the modern ones, but it's the same structure that it's always been.
Yeah, I see what you
See
mean.
the front?
Yeah.
Yep. And like, here, I'll throw this on.
That hat looks too small for his head anyway. I'm so turned on right now.
All right. So
I
what? What did I hear?
said I'm so turned on right now.
when you put that on.
Don't be a.
You can't stop me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
M249.
Yeah, the SAW paratrooper.
Saw paratrooper.
They most likely that unit would have probably had just a regular 249, like probably an old school one too, even without the fucking rails and shit on it.
Nice.
At that time, yeah.
No idea what
That's
this
a weird
is.
one.
Yeah.
What is this?
No idea.
So
It's
the
a
Browning
big.
M2
Oh,
HP.
it's the M2
Yeah,
hamburger.
I was about
Got
to
it.
say that M2 hamburger.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
What?
No, it's true. No, 100%.
It'll always be that from now on.
It will always be that. I'm gonna put in the Ram. I'm just gonna silently have the Rambo guy getting obliterated in the circle when we say that. So that'll be fine.
beautiful.
General Dynamics M197 Vulcan, and I don't care. And it's on
Yeah, I don't care either.
It's on the Super Cobra. Yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
Super Cobra.
I guess on this IMDb, fuck everything that the
Yeah, what the
Iraqis
hell?
and
Right.
the insurgents were
Yeah,
using.
right.
Like,
Yeah.
I
that's
didn't
fuck
even
that.
realize
And
everything you said.
Yeah. Nope. No AKs. No
yeah,
nothing.
they were carrying AKs. Even the fucking. Oh my god.
What?
Whatever.
All right. To do our own quick one. What do you think it was? AKMs and.
Well, that's the thing is like there was a dude that
Underfolders
commented. There was a dude that commented on my YouTube channel recently that said he's like, oh, when I was in Iraq, we got a bunch of fucking Romanian AKs that had a bunch of trench art on them. And now I know the
Jonesy
kids
said that too. He said
Yep, with
Chinese and Romanian mainly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, like the Iraqi soldiers that I was with, like they carried a lot of Yugo and Romanian and Chinese AKs. There was one dude that had a fucking amazing Soviet fucking AKM, or it might have been an actual 47.
Wow.
That was milled. It was fucking
So like a Type
amazing.
1, like a Type 1 milled one.
Yeah, it had its Chevs on it. It was fucking amazing. And I was looking at it and I'm like, God damn. But most of them were actually Romanian or Yugoslavian. And they were carrying those and it's like, yeah, they were effective, but that was secondhand shit.
Was it Jonesy saying that there was one guy who was using a AK with the barrel so bent that Jonesy was like, it wasn't from like damage from artillery or anything like that. He's like, the motherfucker was using it bent. He's like, he would have had to use like volley fire to shoot left or right.
Well, that's the thing is like, so when my dad got there, and because my dad ended up, he trained a lot of the Iraqi police in Iraq or Iraqi army first in like late 2000 or 2005, and then eventually the Iraqi police, right? And the AKs that they had, they couldn't fucking zero with them to save their lives. The barrels were completely fucked. When they got new barrels and they got the armorers and they figured out they had the sight tool and everything
Right, yeah.
to zero the AKs, once that happened, they were accurate. Because he's like, yeah, I always thought AKs were just inherently inaccurate. And then I actually shot one with a good barrel on it. No, they're fucking accurate. And he's like, also the ones they were shooting at me with were pretty fucking accurate. I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. Like, fucking A. But long story short, it's like, if your AK barrel is shot out, it's the same as an AR barrel being shot out. It's
Right.
going to be very less accurate.
Right.
Especially if it's fucking bent because it's been melted, while you're firing, it's melted and it kind of lists to one side. And you just give it to someone else. It's like, well, yeah, it's not going to be good.
Yeah. I think Jones, he said like it was bent to the right. He's like, I don't know how the hell the guy shot because he would have had to aim like, 4 fucking front blades to the right of me to hit me
Right.
if I were to
Yeah.
like it was
Yeah,
just
I remember him
insane.
saying something like that. But like, yeah, it's insane. Like,
Did majority of the guys that when your time there, I know you don't always, obviously you don't see who's always taking shots at you, but I mean, like, was it predominantly AKs or were there like SKSs and like all that
No,
other stuff?
the guy, I never got direct fire because we had T-walls all around us, right? We got a shitload of indirect fire.
Okay.
But no, but from the guys that were in the part of my company that got separated to a different company when we got to Kuwait, it was a lot of AKs, SKSs, RPKs, all that shit. So, yeah, I never had the luxury of being shot at by an AK.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was just their 107s, their 122s,
Their RPGs.
82 millimeter fucking mortars. Yeah,
Right.
it's just fucking
The things that go boom.
the loud things that go boom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, and everybody else that I've ever talked to that's been in an actual like firefight, they're like, well, you can control that. You can't control indirect fire. And I'm like, that's why it's called indirect fire, right? No, it's indirect fire. You ask anybody who's ever been in a combat zone, and they're going to tell you that the fucking indirect fire is the most terrifying goddamn thing in the world. It's just so... Because you could hear it, right? Like rockets, it's very short when you hear it, and then it's... boom! Mortars, though, it's... boom, boom, boom. Oh, she's like, close as that... And then you hear the fucking... And you're like, fuck! Okay, they're... Mortars and rockets are fucking awful.
I remember one thing you told me one time. You said that they would put ice in a mortar.
Yeah. No, they would do that. I told people this, and they're like, yeah, fucking, it's smart. I'm like, I do the same shit. Crazy. Trust me. No, they would do it in the middle of the day because, like, usually they would shoot at us at night because there was this giant blimp in the same area that this fucking film takes place in Baghdad. Well, they're in Diyala. It's a little bit north and east, but like at Al Fa, right? So we were right by Al Fa. I was about a mile away from Al Fa Palace where they were like stationed at. When I was there in 2009, they had this big fucking blimp up in the sky near there. And it had this like fucking multi-million-dollar camera on it that every time it would register like a shot going off, it would zoom in, take pictures like in fucking sequence immediately, and follow them, like what truck they were using, whatever. And so they cut onto that because they got caught a few times. So they would take mortar tubes, homemade or, surplus from whatever the fuck they had, and they would set these things up, and they would drop a block of ice that was the width of the mortar tube down in the bottom of the fucking tube. And they would drop the round on top of it. And they would skedaddle, and about 15, 20 minutes later,
after it,
boom, the pin hits it. Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. They go off and they start hitting us or whoever else. Is most of the airport biop, and they would start, the rounds would be coming over us in the middle of the fucking day, and we're like, what? And they're like, there was just a tube. We only found a tube. And they're like, yeah, there's a bunch of fucking water in the bottom of it. And we're like, oh. So they figured out. But, like, those dudes did that several times, and it's very effective because they can do, like, 3, 4, 5, 3 or 4 mortar positions. They can do that in about an hour. They can just drive off, do the same thing, and like hit us.
Boom, 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 have a 3-man team. But I've never heard of that, of a delayed fuse with ice.
Well, it's so fucking hot in Iraq, like
obviously
during the day.
Yeah.
It's like it was like 130 some degrees during the day in the summer.
Right.
Usually it's about 120.
It makes sense.
It does.
And not that I'm at all trying to debunk this. I'm just curious. Doesn't a mortar shell technically have to strike the firing pin hard enough to set it off? Because if the ice is gradually melting it,
they didn't all go off.
Oh, so okay, kind of like
that's how they figured out they were doing this.
Okay,
they found
Yeah.
they found rounds in the tubes.
Okay.
That'd be scary.
Because I was
That hadn't gone
because I
off.
was just thinking, like, if it's slowly, like the way ice melts in a tube and slowly goes out, wouldn't it just lay on the firing pin then? Because that's why I was just curious.
But
not
if
trying to
it's
debunk it,
enough
yeah.
pressure, even if it's like a fucking, I don't know, but like it worked.
Right. Oh yeah. I'm
But
not.
not all of
yeah,
them.
yeah. I'm just thinking of it as a
No.
physics
Yeah,
lesson.
no. I
Like, I'm
agree
just
with you, and
trying-
that's
yeah.
what I thought too. And that I was like, how the fuck do they do that?
That'd be-
And
That'd
I
be
don't know.
fucking scary too. Like one that didn't go off. It's like, well, we gotta disarm this thing now. We could go off at the
Oh yeah,
slightest
they
touch.
had to like dump it out of the fucking like EOD had to go out there, and it was just a fucking mess.
It's
But,
like it's like the Pacific where they have a dud round. They have to do the same
Right,
thing.
just,
they have
yeah,
to dump it out. They have
put
to
it up and
sleeve
then
it out,
put, like-
catch it, put it down. Yeah.
Yep.
In that case,
Yep.
though, the rounds might not be duds. They're just they didn't hit it hard enough.
Oh no, they're not duds. Well, even not to go on a mortar tangent, but even if the rounds are duds, they can still go
Okay.
off because the firing pin may not be. The firing pin might have been, or the sorry, the contact initiation didn't work, but the round, it could be a delayed fuse, it could be whatever. So
Yep.
guys taking mortar rounds out of the tube was always
It's scary.
even World War II, it's terrifying, and then they have to do protocols to put the dud shells away from everything because it could suddenly go off. Just like how if you have a dud round in a dud round in a gun, and you
Yep.
you take it out, you still want to be careful. Like I have Turkish rounds that I've shot in the past that dud out, and I'm like, I just wait, and then I open it up, and then I put it to the side, and I just leave it there, and
Yep.
I don't touch it. So
Scary.
Yeah, it's one of those things that was like, it was terrifying because it's like, A, we can't catch the guys. B, guys have to go out there and retrieve that and deal with the ordnance. They usually, from what I heard, rumors, it's not a fact, so don't quote me on this, but like, they would just take the tubes with the fucking round in there and like put them out in a pile and then just fucking detonate the whole thing.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Because they had to get rid
yeah.
of the tubes anyway.
Yeah.
And they're just like, yeah, we don't want to fuck with
I'm just shocked that the greatest I mean, it makes sense, but the greatest alternative to putting a high tech camera is a fucking World War I technology blimp.
It literally was. It literally was on fucking strings, cables, like, and it was like,
Call Goodyear, you know.
yeah, exactly. And it was like sitting there, we could always see it. We're like, what the fuck is that thing? And then eventually we found out, and they're like, and it was funny because like it never really helped us because
Just it made you get shot at. That's all it did. Yeah.
no, we had the fucking phalanx or the C-ram they call it later, but it was this fucking 20mm fucking minigun basically that had like a radar guided fucking thing that could track trajectory of like indirect fire.
Mm.
It hit maybe 1 out of 10 rounds. And it was like, okay, that's $250,000 that the taxpayers just pissed away in one burst that you missed.
Right.
They all explode. Like they're kind of like self-destructive rounds, and like they don't rain down shit on that can kill anybody.
Right.
But it's like, huh?
I think I've seen footage of something like that.
That's those like airburst rounds, like right when they shoot and they go like blah, 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 like that.
Yeah, it's a.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's that thing.
Is that what's
And,
that? Is that what? That's not the same thing that's on the A-10 Warthogs, is it?
No. Well, it's the same caliber,
Right.
but yeah. Anyway, we're getting off
We
topic.
get off topic. Let's end it.
This is 2003. Yeah.
We've said all we've
So,
had to say.
Well, then, with that being said, Michael, do you want to go into final thoughts then?
My final thoughts, Nate, just copy what I said at the beginning and put it here. No, it's the same thing. No, I'm just yeah, like I said, it has some interesting things in it. It's not definitely far from, like, oh, this is a piece of shit movie. It's not that. It's just, for me, it was nothing very special, and I wish they had honed in on a lot more of the stuff that I did find interesting, which is like trying to, provide water to the population, and then, people like, being pissed off about it, and, going back and forth with that, interesting concept, but I didn't do enough with it, in my opinion. So I think I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10, just down the middle.
Yeah, it was definitely lacking in the first 35 minutes or so, like I was saying, but like it sort of redeemed itself. I did like, one of the things that I didn't bring up before, but like I will now is like the uniforms. Like, so DCUs, they call them, the 3-color desert. Those things got stained, especially if you couldn't wash them. And that was really well done in this film. Like, they got really dirty, really gross as it went on, and that was cool. But, I mean, I agree with you, Mike. Like, the whole story of like what actually they had to do, I think that should have just been from the get go. Like, see the bomb drop, boom, this entire village is without water, and then you can explain the story of like how they've been fighting over it for years before that, blah 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 blah, and then how the U.S. is trying to. Which I did like those scenes where the U.S. guys were helping the Iraqis, and they were all like the laborers are being paid, whatever, and they were all working together, and they're lifting these like fucking 2,000, 3,000 pound pieces of pipe to get in there to get this village water again. But like that was so minimal. It was all about like I don't know. It was very meandering. It was like, what are we doing here? And then we get the special forces scene, like, oh, we're gonna raid this place that whatever, and at the end they get blown up, and then he gets sent home. And I'm like, well, on a psych reason, or are you gonna fuck him over? Like, what's going on? A lot of unanswered things. I think it was very thrown together. It's not a terrible portrayal of the first year of the Iraq War, but it really, really fell short in a lot of respects. So, that being said, 4-7.
Decent. Yeah, I mean, I'm in the kind of like I think I'm gonna be a little higher than both of you tonight, but I understand the points. I mean, like the things that I came pretty much out of it in my head was that meandering is a great word to describe this, Mike. It just seems like it was almost like a check mark Iraq film to me in the sense of you know where when did we get out of Iraq? 12.
2011, well, 12 or 11 officially,
11 officially,
12 kind
12
of,
probably at
yeah.
that point. Yeah, so like this is 2017, 5 years after, and it's like I feel like it's a hindsight movie where it's like we the United States left unfinished and we left the country in turmoil, blah, check mark, blah blah blah. It's like that. I think that whole going home, no, we're not done, sir, check mark. No, we left, check mark. Like it just felt a lot of that. And action hero movie, check mark. Henry Cavill's thing, check mark. We paid for him, so we want to have Superman in a badass thing, check mark. Not that I'm blaming Henry Cavill for it. I blame the direction of it. I think there are some very unique scenes within it. I like the main character's character to a point. I do think there is some character development, but it is cliche. But there are. I would say with this movie, to keep a very long-winded thing short, is I think there are very good highlighted moments and good highlighted sections. As a whole, the movie suffers, and I think that's really just has to do with direction and just what is it about. And it feels like it's trying to encompass the last 10 to 15 years of war movies all into one. And I do think it does do a really good job with the water idea. And like what Mike and Michael said, it's like I think if they had just stuck to that, I think this would have been a really good kind of keynote in the last 10 to 15 years, or sorry, last 5 to 10 years of Iraq movies. But yeah, I think I'm gonna be a little nicer. I think I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10 screaming Mel Gibsons, but I do believe it does suffer. But I do like a lot of little key moments of it.
All right, well, putting the numbers into the computer that'll tell us if those Iraqi people will ever get water again. We've got a score of 5.23, repeating.
Yeah, that makes sense. I always say it's about a healthy 5.
They might get water, they might not.
Right.
The I guess the key question is that technically I think this falls under the Thursday night matinee category, I think, for us. Yeah.
It's not like a terrible watch. It's just I don't know. I'm also like I've got a personal involvement obviously with it, and it's like even with that, it's just fucking stay on topic. Stay on topic.
Stay
Hold them
on
longer.
topic.
Stay on topic.
Stay on topic. God,
I can't hold it.
I need to make that into a fucking
it.
soundbite. God
That's
damn.
Whenever the movie's sliding, stay on target. Stay on target.
I need
It didn't go in.
skid it off the
That's
surface.
exactly what happened. It did not go in.
Maybe
Yep.
I have to make that for us every time we go off topic to prevent a take UGI.
I like that.
You know.
Like,
Stay on
keep
topic.
Keep
Stay
going.
on
Then
topic.
finally, once we're like, you know what, the movie went off the rails at that point. Then you play the soundboard. Negative. It didn't go in.
Again, I mean, I think this falls into the Thursday matinee. I mean, do you guys? I guess what we always say is, would you recommend it?
No.
No, I wouldn't. I would also not. If somebody asked me, like, hey, I'm planning on watching this, I wouldn't be like, oh, don't fucking watch that. It's one of
Right.
those things where it's like, I wouldn't go out of my way to recommend it to somebody, but like, if they said they're going to watch it, I'd be like, go for it.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, that's what I think it's like it's a go for it movie. You know, it's not like, hey, you know, I highly recommend this. You'll learn something. It's you might enjoy this. It might scratch the itch. You know, yeah. No,
They
it's,
had a story and they only focused on it for like probably a half hour out of 2 hours.
Yeah, and then they
it fucking
meandered
sucked.
somewhere else. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. But yeah, funny anecdote. What do we have for a quote? Don't shoot the green dogs.
You know, what the fuck was that all about?
That's the quote to end it on. What the fuck was that all about?
Yeah, spray dog green.
Right. Well, I guess that concludes. I don't have any witty quotes, Brian.
No, neither do I. Yeah, Brian's
Fucking
Brian's
Christ,
the one.
that's-
Yeah,
That's your fucking deal.
Last
so,
week you had an excuse. It was all in French. So now it's like,
I just don't
It's
this
all right.
week. Yeah, it's fucking.
I hope you get shot in the face and die. There we go. Don't translate that.
Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a rating. Otherwise, Mel Gibson won't stop screaming. If you like this content, make sure to check out our Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram pages. If you want to directly support our work, make sure to check out our Patreon. All these links are in the description.